listening to the Questionnaire.
Say that again.
You're listening to the Questionnaire.
I've just started.
Right here, for your ears, for your eyes.
The Questionnaire.
Get your comic on.
Poke it out, poke it out, poke it out, poke it out.
At first, we thought we were safe from it. Yeah, but this is the Questionnaire. Man, I don't even know what's going to happen over here half the freaking time. I really don't. I mean, it's madness. Season 2 has been phenomenal. I've been loving it. There have been so many great guests. I am the unknown factor, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, and we're going to quest again. Today, it's season 2, so we've been trying to keep a rotating co-host. I'm not going to say, sometimes, look, man, we're all human. We get sick, right? And that happens. Or sometimes we rip our tendon off our leg. Scott, dude, get better, right? But Dave didn't. How you doing, man?
Hey, man, I'm great. How about you?
I'm good, man. I'm glad you didn't rip your tendon off the back of your leg like Scott did. That's
I
man.
ripped my bicep off like 6 years ago, but that's a different story. I'm just excited. I'm super excited.
Wait. I hope no more co-hosts do that if there's already 2 of us. But yeah, I agree, man. Just from the previous show, which you can go check out over on the Patreon if you all want to. This conversation, I look. If there was a proper co-host for this, it was one with that tattoo. That tattoo, yeah, because setting records, right, for pre-sales, which I just found out about. Which I mean, that's a heck of a thing, man. I'm half about to be a speculator, Dave, with that one. To be real honest, I'm about to go speculator on it, right? And you know for a fact I'm not much to do that, but to know that, and to know other things I know about the market, which we were talking about a bit in the pre-show with Kelly Thompson in the house.
Kelly Thompson, so excited.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show, Kelly.
I'm obviously not a fan of speculation in the sense that I do want you to read and love the comics themselves, but I have seen the secret covers, and they're great. The Leonardo Romero one is obviously my favorite. I'm in the tank pretty hard for that guy, and it's great. I love his cover. I think it's fantastic. The David Mack is also great, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'll say it anyway. The David Mack one has Scarlet and Storm Shadow on it. Ooh. So I know some people will probably be interested in that. I think
I'll go ahead, Kelly.
The John Myers might have, the secret John Myers might have Storm Shadow as well. I'm not positive. But so, if you like those guys, I've seen those covers. Covers are very weird to me. Like sometimes you get a whole, I guess they're weird because people all have different tastes. And so I'm not going to like all the covers on, book, whatever that I'm interested in buying. And that's fine because other people can like other different covers. But I have to say, I think all our Scarlet covers are pretty good. I don't know if you guys saw, I was going to do a post about this because I saw the issue 3 covers coming in with the solicits for August, and man, that Annie Wu one, there's a really gorgeous Annie Wu one, really fun, a great rendition of Scarlet, I would say.
Well, I will say I agree, Kelly. There's so many covers, but on the note of speculation, Dave knows I don't really do that, and I would probably pick it up and then be annoyed that I had to add another book to my pull list based on the fact of what we were talking earlier, as far as if minimum wage was livable, I wonder what it would do to the comic book bid, kind of thing, But again, I mean, I wonder what that would just do for businesses in general. But we're not going to get into all that because that's a whole level of speculation that.
It's a different show.
Different show.
And also the pre-show sometimes, if y'all want to subscribe to the Patreon, pay me a little bit and I'll get a little bit more comics. I'm just saying out there for all y'all, right? But I know, man, I got to let Dave take this because with what you're writing, and I mean, I like some G.I. Joe. I do. I would never get it tattooed.
Look, I waited 40 years for that tattoo because everyone said don't get a tattoo just for giggles, and I've wanted that since issue 21 of G.I. Joe. So I finally got it, last year, and I'm sitting around booking. you're looking at my GI Joe books on the walls. I'm looking at a Larry Hama drawn Snake Eyes that I have on the wall. So I mean, I've been there. I'm Gen X. I'm perfect for it. 8 years old when the book came out. So yeah, I was perfect for it. Yeah.
I
So
do feel a little pressure now. It's like you're a GI Joe super fan. I hope we can deliver for you.
No, you're going to do great, Kelly, because I've been a fan of yours for quite some time now.
Oh, thanks.
So I loved your Black Widow run. I thought the art was fantastic. I thought the story was great. Just brought some heart to it. And I mean, I know you didn't do the covers, but every cover was.
Those Adam Hughes covers were incredible. I think that's why I got a little angry that they put the J. Scott Campbell on the collected trade. I'm not having a problem with J. Scott Campbell. I just that was the cover artist for the book. That's how people identify it. I don't really understand. I mean, I guess Marvel thinks maybe they get another bite at it of a different people who didn't see those covers, and so but it particularly that one is frustrating to me because that's got all this like Russian symbolism stuff on it, and obviously that's always going to be a part of Black Widow's character. I'm not trying to take that away from her, but our book is really not sort of about that, and so like I feel like the vibe's a little off from all of that, but whatever. It's you do what you do. Yeah,
it was a great team of characters you had in there.
It was really fun.
Yelena coming in to her own, because up until then I wasn't the biggest fan of hers, and then putting them two together like that was great. And it was really
that sort of came out about, because I don't like to admit this in some ways because people are very sensitive about this, but I was planning on using White Widow just because I wanted to use her for the plot and the narrative of the story, but we also knew she was going to be in the movie, and so not a bad idea. We want to sell books. People recognize the character. Okay. But then when I knew Florence Pugh was cast, I was like, okay, maybe I never fully understood the character until now, but I can already hear how she's going to do that. I'm a huge fan of hers. I've been a fan for a long time. I think I saw really one of her first things she ever did, and I've just been on board ever since. And I knew she would be dynamite in that role and that fans would have a huge reaction to her, and so it made me even more excited to like build that dynamic in the book. And I was really excited when the movie came out that even though a lot of it was very different, I mean they're very much sisters in the beginning and everything, it's very different from the Marvel continuity, but I was very happy that I felt like I had nailed the voice for kind of that. She's sort of this harsher, more aggressive, but it's all sort of funny and set in love, and I'm a big fan.
I gotta ask a question based on that, but real quick, I need one moment. Because if my phone would have died in the middle of the interview, I would have been really, really bloody annoyed. And based on the fact that it pops on the screen, I need to do a quick edit. But as I was saying, I'm curious. It's funny to hear that you did that specifically because she was going to be in a Marvel film. And this is a discussion that we've had a lot of times on the show. I mean, Dave, you were part of a PanCon where we discussed the effects of movies and comics and how they have on one another as well. I mean, it's a great PanCon. Alan Henry, Hannibal Taboo, and Scott. Yeah, Scott. Yeah. I was going to be mad if I forgot that last name. Sorry. But do you really think in doing that, do you feel like the movie had any effect on the sale of that comic?
No, it almost never does. But you hope. I mean, but it's a little bit of theory of a thing a lot of people have noticed I do on books that I'm on. When I'm on a solo, I sort of stealth build them into team books. I think I do that for a lot of reasons. The joke answer is that Sana Amanat one time told me when I was first starting out and when I was doing Hawkeye that she thought I was much better on solo books. And I took that as an insult and proved her wrong. And that's all a joke. I love Sana. She's one of my favorite people in comics or in movies now, I guess. She's fantastic. And I just saw that as like a challenge, And so I do think that a thing that a lot of people enjoy about my work, a thing I hear a lot, is about the dialogue and the interaction between the characters. And I think that's a thing that is a little bit magical to me because when I build a book, like I've been talking about this a lot with Birds of Prey, of course, because it's a weird cast, but when I build a book, like I'm pulling characters I know, but if they haven't been in a lot of books together, you sometimes still don't know how they're gonna interact with each other. And of course, Yelena and Widow have been in a lot of books together. Most of their stories involve the two of them. When it's Yelena, she has very few solo stories, but the dynamic felt like it had sort of shifted and changed because of who she was now in the Marvel universe, independent of the movie, but also when you put her in a big movie and you know she's going to be a big star, that character starts naturally becoming sort of more heroic or anti-hero in stories. So but you don't really know what's going to happen until you like jam those characters together on the page, like what's going to spark and be interesting and what's going to be sort of boring and feel like you've seen it already, so I don't know if movies sell any more comic books. Doesn't really seem like it. I mean, my biggest debut was Captain Marvel, which was keyed to the movie coming out. So I think there is some overlap with like big releases and stuff, but I don't think it's an ongoing thing. I think very few people that you bring in convert and then they are now monthly readers of Captain Marvel. You just get a surge in speculators and people who are like, oh, that's interesting, and like, so you get some boosted numbers, which helps with trying to sell comics. Any sale helps, but I do think that the team book to me helps a little bit. And I mean, listen, my books get canceled all the time, so I'm not trying to say it's some kind of magic bullet, but if you can read a really fun Spider-Woman that you like, especially if she doesn't have a book right now, but you can read her in Captain Marvel every month, like maybe I can get the Spider-Woman fans, and the Hazmat fans who I know they're not Legion, but they're out there and they can't read her for a long time. So let's put her in Captain Marvel. And I do think that stuff helps. Although in the case of Captain Marvel, I have to say probably one of the biggest factors, other than just the quality of the book was quite good for years, I think the Captain Marvel Carol Corps that they call themselves, they were an incredibly positive, forceful community that was surprisingly effective, I felt, in like getting the word out and getting people excited and really, really wonderful stuff. It's really nice when you can see, because there's such a toxic side of fandom, especially in social media. So when you've got things to brace against that, it's great. Like there's a joke, comic book writers at least say a lot of things like, they're like, oh, you're writing that now, like enjoy that experience, because the X-Men fans are the worst, or the Spider-Man fans are the worst, or the Batman fans are the worst, because everyone's been abused by fans at some point. And I always felt like the Carol haters are terrible, but at least I've got the Carol Corps, all these really positive people, and I think it made a difference, because I've worked on a lot of books where you don't sort of have that I want to say ballast, but that makes it sound like I know something about ships or something, so I don't want to say that. I do not know anything about ships.
Yeah, but you do know these teams. I mean, you've done, I know you said, you get canceled books all the time. One of my biggest bummers was West Coast Avengers
thank you.
being canceled. I love that. And thank you so much for introducing us to Jeff the Shark. Jeff gets so much play constantly. We've always have Jeff the Shark at our store.
As he should. Should.
And people come in, they're like, I'm looking for something for younger readers. And I'm like, Jeff the Shark is perfect. Here, please. So
that's awesome. I love that. I've heard someone said to me who worked at a comic shop, they emailed me and they were like, listen, can you please tell Marvel to stop doing crossovers and events and just put more of this out? I can sell this. And I was like, hey, I mean, you're preaching to the choir, man. I agree. I wrote it for a reason.
Ooh, I just got to get into like two quick things from dude, you should have watched Fabian's Quest, man. Because man, dude,
watch Fabian.
I'm just saying, look, like it was not, yeah, but one, I think it's funny because as far as the hostile on social media, I literally seen somebody saying, "You think you know Deadpool" to Fabian, which is hilarious. Yeah, I went and commented the quest that he was just on over here with himself and Erica co-hosting, because I thought, I was like, hey, dude, here, get a little comic knowledge and check that out. But as far as the teams, I'm curious with all the teams that you've worked with, if if you could just mesh a super team, right? Like from anywhere and everywhere. Like we'll say 5 people, right? Right. What 5 people would you just want to be like, this would be an interesting team? No rules, no company rules. Let's put that out.
I mean, I think it's hard, man. That's hard to do on the fly because it's not just about like power sets or personalities. It's about all of those things. I think the mistake I see people making all the time when they fan cast things are that they put similar things together, which can work in a limited capacity. Like, oh, I want all the Wolverines together. I want all Berserker energy on this. Okay, sure. That can work for a while, but it's going to be limiting. Because your characters all come at things the same way. You need different people. It's the reason why, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but one of David definitely has from that smile.
I mean, I'm old enough to where if I hadn't seen it, that would be really odd. You know what I'm saying? At least like
well, I
at
appreciate
some
that.
point in passing, it would be like, how do you not know who Buffy the Vampire Slayer is, dude? You're 40. Yeah, but
I worked,
it's
I worked with James Marsters at a convention last year.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Buffy verse. Yes.
I always wanted him to do the audiobook for Story Killer because he used to do the audiobooks for the Jim Butcher series.
Still does. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm a Butcher fan. So
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
well, and I
Those are
honestly,
fun.
I wouldn't listen to the one that he didn't read. He's so good. His
Yeah.
voice, it's divine. He's so that character. Anyway,
They
really-
re-recorded it. They
Yeah.
re-recorded it, so he does
yeah,
it all
yeah,
of them
yeah.
now.
I heard that. I hadn't read it.
Yeah.
Right after I'd heard that and made that decision, we ended up moving, and I wasn't really having a commute anymore, so it really cut into my audiobooks and podcast time. But we're getting pretty far afield here. What I was trying to say is that on Buffy, they, it works better with Cordelia because she's a little oil to their water. You don't want everyone just hugging all the time. Like Giles is a little out of sync with them. That works a little bit because he's an adult and that's different, but he's still like on their side. They're all on the same side. You need someone to like come in and shake things up. And there's a reason that when you lose Cordelia in season 3, you bring in Spike. That like
Yep.
you need those dynamics. And so I think that that's a thing that gets lost all the time. Like everyone's like, oh, I just want to put all my best cool friends with the coolest powers on a team. And it's like it's as important to write a comic. Like maybe not if you're going to go fight something, but if you're actually writing a narrative, it's as important to think about, well, I need a flyer and I need a strong guy and I need a this, as it is to think about, well, these people aren't going to completely get along together, and that's going to help. That's going to make things more interesting.
you be
That's
the
going
Deadpool.
to create new narratives and threads and development. So I'm basically dodging the question.
Hey,
Love
firstly, that was the best dodge of any question I think I've had on the questionnaire because it was like, and she dodged the question, but man, she made it make sense as to why she would really dodge the question because she doesn't want to answer it in 30 seconds. She wants to sit down for a couple hours and answer that. Right? And I'm very curious, but I do agree. Like every team needs a Deadpool.
Yeah, I mean, you need that guy who's gonna make things. I mean, one of the great things is that Deadpool. Of you bringing up Deadpool, I would say one of the greatest examples of it seeming like it's not going to work because you put all sort of killers on the team, like in Uncanny X-Force, or people who will be incredibly violent, and then you end up with Deadpool being the one who won't do it. Like, I mean, is that his greatest story ever because of how that all resolves? It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's truly great. Like, that's a great team to look at, to be like, when you look at it, you're like, is that the best team? And then you're like, yes, it is. Look at what's happening in here. It's really great. So, all right, to not totally dodge the question, I'll say, I mean, I'm very in the tank right now for Barda and Cass. I think they're amazing. So like mixing them with some X-Men maybe or something like, gosh, we don't really need magic because we can teleport with the boom tube. So I'm going to leave that off. Like Storm, maybe. Storm, Barda, Cass. And then I don't know, maybe Hazmat is interesting in there, and like Spider Woman or something, or like Rogue, so something in there. You notice I did all women. I can't help it. It's just happens. It happens. I did enjoy making Gambit the token guy on the Carol X-Men team. It felt completely right. I was just looking at that for reference the other day, and I saw a bit that I wrote, and it was Javier Pina had drawn that issue where he's just speaking in French, and Hazmat, who's like new to these X-Men, she's like, do you guys even know what he's talking about half the time? And they're like, no. We don't know. Just let him do his thing. We don't care. Nobody speaks French. Are you kidding?
Oh, sure, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, he's just doing his thing. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, he'll be over here in a minute.
He's the only reason I know what Mon Ami means.
Yeah.
Yep, that's about it. Thanks to Pepe Le Pew. That's fantastic. I loved it, and you weren't, it's not just me thinking that those books were great. I mean, you kind of won a couple of awards, and you're nominated for some more right now, which is really awesome. I'm cool. Excited because I'm loving Birds of Prey. The whole let's go to Themyscira and go get Sin and be quiet. Oh wait, no, we're just gonna have to smash everything. Part of like, I respect you, but thump. It was great. I loved it so much, and now we're traveling with them, and yes, the runway show. I was like, I know it's fan service, but I appreciate it.
I mean, listen, I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't had Javier and David drawing it, because I know both their style. I also know what their intentions are. I know we're going to like see that the same way. And I know that I can trust them for those characters to look beautiful, and for it to be part of the bit, and for it to be comedy, and to also give me beautiful beefcake at the same time, so it's sort of equal opportunity. And then, to let us tell a hilarious joke about Barda just not assimilating to the world, and she doesn't care. She'll fight naked every day. She doesn't care. Like, it's like Barda is so sort of singular in her way she approaches things. It makes
her in curtains. I was just like, yeah, just grab some curtains here, Barda, put this on.
Yeah.
Great. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So yeah, I'm so happy with that. And the Cull was brilliant and touching and made my heart hurt. Thank you. And I even talked about the Cull issue 1. It was one of our first collabs that I did on this show, where I do like a weekly, hey, here's books to look at. We
try and get that done over here. That's all I'm gonna say. It's supposed to be live on my Facebook. I'm trying to figure out a couple of them, but we try and get that done over here. Look, we go on a lot of quests, and there's a lot, and I hope y'all are out there and enjoying them. But we try. But that was one of the many books that Dave brought up, and I'm like, hey, and then it probably it's probably one, because I think if I remember properly, I was like, hey, add that to my pool, but and again, not Dave's fault. Yeah, not Dave's fault. I'm telling him during the show, and then brain shut down, and then I don't remind him because I forget. So just to be clear, it's not Dave's fault. I'm just saying these things happen, but that is the show we are supposed to do every week. But.
Well, I appreciate you trying out the Cull. I am a big fan of, oh crap. Sorry, I just opened a page and it's wrong. I shouldn't try to view new art that's come in while I'm on a podcast. I thought it was just going to be great. It is beautiful, but it's wrong, and now I'm going to have to tell him that, and it's going to be a problem.
You can share. You won't tell.
Yeah, I'm sure. DC Comics will be like, are you showing pages, unfinished pages to people? I'll be like, no, not me.
Hey, look, I hacked in because I got your IP address and I snatched it. They don't need to know nothing.
So yes, I would put Barda on basically any team. It would be fun to see her in scenarios with like X-Men type of people. It's it's great. It's great.
That's cool. So we did say X-Men. If you could do the X-Men teams, we've got a whole lineup coming out right now.
Yeah.
To see that your name wasn't listed in there, But is there a title that you would consider, whether X, Factor or X Force or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I like all those books. From when I was doing that, I would have loved to have been considered to do some X-Men books. I think my schedule is probably too crowded. I wouldn't have worked out, but I would have liked to have been offered them. I love the X-Men. I wanted to work on the X-Men when it was Krakoa. So I think even though Rogue and Gambit really remain sort of my favorite X-Men, that I probably wouldn't reach for them just because, I don't know. Like in some ways you like being a definitive voice for some characters, and if you really care about them and you think you care about them the most, then it feels like you're protecting them. But it can also be limiting to them if they're really just living in one writer mostly. So sometimes letting them go to other people is sort of the right thing to do. If you love them, set them free, I guess.
Ooh, all I know is I got two good ones off that one, because I've heard several writers actually say this recently. I'm not gonna sit here and name all the names because I'll forget something, and it's it's been in season 2. Yeah, but
You'll miss
huh?
or you'll mispronounce their names.
I look, man, I love Fabian, but I swear next time I have him on, I'm gonna just butcher his last name intentionally at this point, because whatever. But Fabian, I love you, man. Go check out that quest and everything, because his cable run, and yeah, it was. But I digress. Right? Like I said, I've had several writers say this. It seems like writers have more of a problem of taking on one too many books than artists do.
Well, I
From
think
what I've
most
seen.
artists just don't have a choice. They can only do one. If they're lucky. It's the work is so detailed. At this point, I think it's very hard for most artists to handle more than a 4 to 5. I think only the best artists like Leo can handle a 5 issues at this point in a row without a break, depending on your lead time. And somehow, pre-production is always littered with challenges that you have to get past, and so you always end up squinching the schedule a little bit so that you don't have as much time as you thought you'd have. So I think they don't have the luxury. I've always said that it's funny that artists and writers are sort of screwed in completely different ways, and I'm not sure which is worse. Artists can really only do one book, so you've got to be able to live on that, and whatever your page rate is, you've got to get it up to a livable rate. And then they can do other things like pick up covers and stuff, but doing that one book, they're probably already really working hard, very pressed. And a writer has the luxury of picking multiple projects, but the rates are so low, you can't survive on one book. You better be hustling to juggle a couple books, otherwise you're not going to make it. So it's a tricky thing. They're very different problems. Both are terrible. Like raising the minimum wage, all the rates in comics should go up. I'm not saying they have to go up astronomically. They should go up a little bit, though.
I mean, I'm just saying, though, if you think of that and how it would work in sequence, look, man, that's a hole that top 1% needs to take a cut, and it should trickle down more and not. But again, I digress. But that's all that is, because it would affect everyone else. Or it should, because if you think, comics are suddenly making more money, suddenly people are going out to films more, suddenly people, are actually buying DVDs as opposed to streaming them because they have that. I mean, that's, what I mean? It's because that, but yeah, that just goes back to write your congressman, tell them minimum wage needs to be livable, which is probably $15-20 an hour, if I'm going to be real frank, and let's not, but
800 million of us, we're lazy. It's not the 20 guys at the top that aren't breaking anything off.
Yeah.
They pulled themselves up by the bootstraps.
That is just.
I'd like to see one case of that, honestly.
Right? Yeah, every one of them had parents that gave them money, lots of money. Anyhow,
old money. It's really funny. If you look at history, it's old money that breaks things, right? And that's just really, really true. It's very, very, very rarely is it the new money that breaks something. It's the new money that gets something moving along, right? So I'm curious. You've done a lot of work. I mean, you got the big 2 going on. now you're jumping over on Skybound, right? With Scarlet. What was the moment like when you found out you were working on G.I. Joe?
Well, I think, it wasn't a bake-off or anything, and I didn't solicit them. They came to me asking me if I'd be interested in Scarlet, and that was just a quick yes. I'm a really big, I haven't read all the comics. I probably haven't even seen all the episodes, but I'm a big fan going back. Like, she was probably my first real geek crush. Like, when you're a kid and you're learning slowly that you sort of like a lot of more boy-coded things like action movies and action figures and all that stuff. I also liked a lot of girl things, but I was much more, I never really called myself a tomboy, but I just liked all those things. And I was around them also because I had 2 younger brothers. So it was natural for like all these kind of different things to be in our house. And she was one of the first things I found. And a lot of times in more boy coded materials, what you get is like one token girl. And, how great she'll be is a question mark. So Scarlet was great. She had a cool weapon. She had a cool boyfriend, although it wasn't like that clear back then. Like when I was a kid, I just knew they were around each other a lot and they were friends. And she had this gorgeous red hair and she was competent. And I liked her more than almost anyone else. And not just because she was a girl that I was supposed to be sort of relating to or connecting with. So I always felt like really lucky that Scarlet was so cool. And I then, in a typical competitive fashion, like really didn't like Lady J when she entered the picture, which is completely the opposite of what you should do. Because I mean, it's like sort of that child brain that doesn't understand like everything's competition. I should have been delighted that Lady J entered the picture. Yeah, because why do we have to have 10 dudes and one girl? Like, it was great that they were sort of fleshing that out a little bit. So, but yeah, Scarlet was very key for me early on in my geek development. So it was a no-brainer to say yes to that. I mean, I wanted to work with them. I was excited about it. I had a small pocket that I thought I could do it. And I also thought I would be a good fit for it. But it's funny because it's one of the only books that I haven't like stealth turned into a team book, just because she's on like a very specific mission and she's not really bringing anyone along. She's not really making any friends. So it's it's a pretty intense thing she's doing. So there isn't a lot of downtime and witty banter with your pals. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, so I know we've talked. Scarlet is obviously title. She's in it, and then I see Jinx is another character, and I apologize, I don't have the picture in front of me, but I remember geeking when I saw. I mean, the other characters that are going to be in there: Storm Shadow,
Snow Job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There is another character who's in the first issue. He's not in it a lot though. I don't know if I'm allowed to say. Stalker. Stalker's also in it.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. But it's mostly going to be Scarlet, Jinx, and Storm Shadow. Those are going to be mostly who you see. Snow Job is like her pilot basically, so he basically like has to drop her off, and then like I'll come get you out if you're in trouble, or I'll come help you, I'm your backup, but she's basically on her own. Like it's a suicide mission.
Counterintelligence, as what her dossier says. She's not just blowing stuff up. Well, she probably is blowing some stuff.
She's definitely blown things up. Does she blow things up in issue 1 or is it issue 2? Definitely issue 2. It might be both. I don't know.
All I know is one, I hadn't really thought about some of those names in like so long. Like it brought back like such vivid pictures in my memory that I was like, whoa, I didn't expect it to be quite so vivid.
How about this for another vivid? Snowdrop's got the Alpine gear, and Scarlet gets to wear Alpine gear too. And I was very excited about that. I was like, oh, can it be snowing in Japan? Like, let's do that. I want to do the Alpine gear.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I mean, it's so rough for me because I'm opening these books every week. And I'm, counting them, and I'm getting pulled lists set up and everything. And we've got probably the largest store in Indianapolis. And so we've got a lot of books. And first thing Wednesday morning, people come in and they're like, "Oh, I've already read this. Do you see this happens? This happens?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't read any of the book. I looked at Cobra Commander #5 today. I looked at the cover and the amount of willpower not to open these books up." And so I'm so excited. I mean, I can't wait to get my hands on the Scarlet book. So yeah, I'm geeking out, and I'm usually not like this. So
Well,
I
no, real
apologize.
quick though, Dave. All I know is like you sit there and say, as far as working at a comic shop, and you want to like pick all these things up, and that's annoying because like at a certain point you can't pick up everything you want to, right? Right, and like all I know is this show does the same thing to me. I want to point that
Yep,
out. I bring on
absolutely.
these creators, and they tell like all these things, and now I'm like, hold on, dog. Lady.
Oh, dog.
Well, she was. See, I had to stop my dog from eating poo, y'all. Sorry.
Yikes.
That's what they do.
You know,
Get them
but
out of the cat box.
speaking of something that is not, yeah, that was terrible. Well, let's get back to something that was sounding phenomenal, right? I'm curious. So you got all that cast in there, and I know what they're currently doing with the GI Joe, right? Are Transformers going to show up in any capacity?
The I wouldn't expect people. I wouldn't want people to expect to see like an actual Transformer, but we are connected to the Energon universe, and in issue 1, there's like a mention of a weapon, which I think for everyone is a pretty big key that like maybe there's something related to that. So, we try to keep the book really new reader friendly, but that was quite easy because this is the beginning of a universe. Like Scarlet isn't a Joe. That's not a thing yet when we start. So, she's just someone who's working in the military and who's like struggling a little bit with it not feeling like a great fit now. And that's about a lot of things. That's about who she is, but it's also about a lot of the linchpin of this, which I don't think is a spoiler that ruins the reading experience, but Jinx is her friend and partner and like a sister to her, and she's been missing. And Scarlet isn't getting any like intel or information back from the government despite her requests. So she's not feeling great in this situation, and she's an exceptionally young woman, so she's feeling very frustrated, and it's a great sort of catalyst for, I think, her not only to have a really emotional, dangerous, cool adventure, but for preparing her for what everything is building to in the Energon universe, i.e. G.I. Joe.
All right, hey Dave, do you work
Yeah,
tomorrow?
of course I work tomorrow. It's
Will,
Wednesday.
will you? Oh
All
well,
hands on
duh.
deck.
Will you remember
But
to
I'll
add
put
that
that
to
on
my
your book.
pull list?
Yeah, and anyone out there who wants to add to their pull list, all you got to do is go to magescomics.com and click on the little talk to a mage button, and you can text me 24 hours a day, and we'll
I
be
just,
able to answer your
you know
questions for
what?
you.
I just bugged Dave because he's one of the co-hosts on the show, and he doesn't share the show enough. I mean, that's not
And then
really.
next
I
week when you
can't.
show up,
I
you'll
don't.
be
I
like, "Hey,
don't
Dave,
share. Firstly,
that
because
on
I
here."
don't. Yeah, I don't share the show enough. Let's be real honest. If we're gonna be clear about it, that's the one thing I'm terrible about is the promotional part. I'm just giving Dave crap. So like, whatever, man. Like when I would be contacting mages, I'm trying to share an episode of where we just went on a really dope quest with someone like Kelly here. You know what I mean? So, um, just try and remember, Dave. Right? Or I'll try and bug you when I come to the store next. Right? Uh, Oh, but hold on, man. See, I had a point. I rambled on. I lost the point. What was the point, Dave? What was the point? It was there. There was a key point there that I really did actually
Let me see. Let me
get the
pull up my notes here.
get the
Make
key,
sure I've
Dave.
hit all the. So let's see. We've done the Scarlet hitting 80,000. Let's see. Captain Marvel, Eisner, Cole, Birds of Prey, X titles. Oh my gosh. So wait, Cole. I have to go back to Cole. Is there
Oh yeah.
any chance we're gonna get a sequel?
There's a chance. I can't promise you, but conversations are happening. Maddie and I certainly want to do more. I do think that it's probably a 2025 thing. You know, it's going to be a while. Like, it's not going to start coming out later this year. We haven't been working on it, but we have a million ideas. I mean, obviously the story itself lends itself to other worlds and anything you can imagine. I don't want to say what happens in the end because I do think we executed that twist pretty well, but you know, you basically have kids who have been inside a space that has access to all sorts of other either times or worlds. They think now worlds, and it's limitless potential for us to build there. The other great thing is it's a thing that if we can really get it off the ground in a way where it's really successful, I mean, like not Saga level, but you know, if we can really get a run, because you have different worlds, it's a thing where Mattia doesn't have to draw every world. I mean, I'd love him to because he's fantastic, but it can be a thing where he's sort of job sharing. He's drawing some worlds, other people will draw some world. Like, there's just limitless potential. It's so fun. And so I'd love to go there. And also, you know, I loved sliders as a kid. So here we are.
Yeah.
It's time to do my sliders. I'd hate to stop. I'd hate to stop now when we've barely started, you know. But it's a complicated thing. The market is tough right now. I think we were a good hit. I think the Eisner nomination is going to help. I think it's doing really well internationally, and the trade has just come out and we're seeing good numbers on that. So all these things are really positive. Also, it doesn't hurt that some of my stuff is popping a little bit. These are all good things for getting more of the Cull. So the biggest thing, the biggest problem, all those factors, I mean, all those things are factors, but if you have the artist and the writer still wanting to do it, I think that's your biggest thing. And Maddie and I are very excited about this world, so I hope we're going to figure it out.
I hope so too. I love the characters. I fell in love with them. Each of them seems so real. Like,
thank you.
You know, yeah. If I didn't know one of them personally, I knew someone's kid.
Yeah.
When a parent I know said, "Hey, my kid is very similar to this character."
That's good. Thank you.
So it was very, very well done.
It is a hard line to write kids, I think, because you don't want everything loaded with so much pop culture and sort of dialogue that is going to date itself. You know, you don't want it to feel dated for other people. You want it to always sort of feel kind of fresh, but it's hard with teens, especially because they tend to be on the cutting edge of these things that are being said and being watched and all this stuff. They're watching it and doing it and creating it. And so it's a little tricky, but I think we held a pretty good line in the Cull. I think kids written in any kind of narrative often feel a little aged up from like reality, just because, you know, you don't want every single sentence, I'm sorry, teens everywhere, but you know, every other word to be like and having trouble getting these ideas across. And like, I think there are great things that express a very realistic view of teenage or childhood life. Like Euphoria is like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. I only watched the first 2 episodes because I was like, honestly, I don't know if I can take this. These kids are so vulnerable. And it's so real what we're seeing, but like, that's not appropriate for every narrative. Like, if we do that in the Cull, we're not talking about what we're trying to be talking about. So I think in every project, you're looking for a balance of how am I striking that this feels real and authentic to these kids and that they feel like real kids, but like, let's move the narrative along. They're pretty well spoken. Some of them are very smart, which is both fun and also helpful to me because they can be operating at a slightly higher level. So it's good. I love that book. I would love to write those characters forever. So I hope we'll get to do more.
I love the fact that, like I said, I'm pretty sure I took. I don't know, man. We'd have to go and review if I did, but you got me like really sold on picking up that graphic novel of the Cull, and at the same time, never watching. What was it?
Sliders.
Sliders.
No, I've seen Sliders. That's which is even more intriguing as far as the you slipped it in there real quick, Kelly, and then
Euphoria.
Euphoria, yeah. Like, so you've sold me on the Cull, right? And you've got me like, I'm never gonna see. I'm like, I'm never watching Euphoria. I don't know.
I mean, it's really good. It's really good. I intend to go back, but I like was watching it, and my partner was in New York at the time, and I was like, I don't know if I can watch this alone. It just, not that it's scary, it's not horror, but it's just intense. It's emotionally intense, and I think especially if you connect to the characters, which you do, they're very good. I mean, Zendaya is one of the stars of Euphoria. Like, she's such a magnetic presence. You sort of can't take your eyes off her, but she seems so vulnerable, and you're like, oh my God, this kid is just going through it. It's so real. And I think I was talking to a friend of mine that has teens, and they were like, oh yeah, we're thinking of watching that. I go, don't. I was like, are you insane? You'll never sleep again.
They'll never let you sit out of that
sleep
house.
again. That is the worst horror movie for parents that's ever been made. It's brilliant, and I think it's really great, and I can't wait to finish it. But I don't have any children, so I can just figure this is someone else's problem.
Okay, so you sold me on Euphoria even less because I do, right? Like, I got a
Don't
kid.
do it.
So,
Don't do it. You don't want to know what those kids are doing.
okay. So,
I saw an interview with Zendaya, and a 12-year-old girl's like, I love you in Euphoria. And Zendaya's like, no,
No,
do not be
don't
watching this
watch.
show.
She's like, maybe you should stick to Spider-Man.
Yeah. Watch Dune. It's
yeah. Watch Dune about a horrific war. It's a horrific, unjust
it's
war.
better than what you
That's
see the
better
kids
for
going
you.
through in Euphoria.
At least they're not likely to end up, on Arrakis, but you might end up in some of those Euphoria situations.
Yeah, exactly. That's fantastic.
it's a hard
Oh,
no. It's a hard no from me on Euphoria then after this conversation, right? Like,
It's the right choice if you have teenage children.
Yes.
Well, he's just 4, but he'll get there.
Oh, yeah.
He'll get there eventually.
Yeah, honestly, it might just give you nightmares about the future if he's that young. So still best. Just let it go. Who knows what the world will look like when he's 15 and not 4? Maybe it will be better. Maybe we'll have gotten that living wage.
Here's open. Yeah, the Euphoria reminded me of Kids, that 90s.
Yes.
Yeah, that
That was the first time I saw Chloe Sevigny.
Yeah.
So great in that.
I prefer Kids in the Hall.
Definitely less dark.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Dave, I'm squishing your head. I'm squishing your head. He's about to do the exact same thing, wasn't he?
Nobody's home. Nobody's home.
Oh,
Yeah, a little silly sometimes.
Yeah,
the gin and tonic was.
Took a dark turn all, but now it's still got me wanting to read the call, and I just really don't want to watch it.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
I'm gonna start giving you crap when I remember that I told you to put something on a pull list. And look, Dave, there is video. I could go review it right now.
Yeah.
And then we'll find out.
Monday morning, you come in Monday mornings and you're like, "Hey, did you put this?" And I'm like, "I don't remember, man."
Well,
I've got like,
and not even that.
Lists that I do every week.
not dude. I don't even want to, dude. Like, I could, like, dude. I know. I don't even want to imagine the pull list you deal with. But not even that. It's it's bad. And well, no. What I meant was, I'd probably go back and look at half the videos and be like, oh no, I didn't. I told him this and not that and that. And like, if I ended up trying to just catch you on it like that and just be kind of douchiest about it, there's video evidence, and I would not always be right. I guarantee it.
God. Did you ever see that Black Mirror where everyone has got cameras in their eyes and so you can review the footage that happened all the time?
Yes.
It's terrifying. But that's not the one that's the scariest to me. The one that's scariest to me is the one where they ride the bikes and they can't turn off the ads unless that are in their little rooms. Yes. Oh my God.
To be like on the network stars and stuff. But the
idea that you can't turn off the ads and that noise and everything is really dark and terrifying and dystopian to me. But my partner is more terrified of the one where everyone's got cameras in their eyes and they're constantly like relitigating things that happened because everyone's recording. I agree. It would be
I don't know which one of those would be worse.
I'm so glad I didn't have them when I was a teenager in the 80s and early 90s, because I would be in a lot of trouble. Yeah.
That's how I feel. That's about how I feel. You know, I kickstarted my first 2 novels, and I often say I'm very glad Kickstarter wasn't around when I was younger, because who knows what
What
kind
you
of
would have done.
ill-advised projects I would have gotten up to. Like, it would have just, you know, it's really, really hard to run a Kickstarter. FYI, for anyone who's listening and hasn't run a Kickstarter, it's incredibly difficult, and you're not qualified to do it at just any age because you have a good idea. You know, it was really hard for me to do mine, and I don't know how old I was when I ran my first one, but I was old enough. I was old. Had a job and an apartment and a very serious debt already. So, you know, anyway, it's
Some people do that like every 6 weeks. You know, that's how they
crazy.
fund their
Well,
comic book or
well,
you know,
Meredith
something.
Meredith McLaren, my artist on Black Cloak, she's incredible, and she has got it down to a science, man. She knows her audience, and she can use it for like shorter stories she wants to tell. Like, she'll do like a 60-page story or something, and she'll do like a beautiful printing, and she'll get it out. Man, she's got it on lock. I wish I was that together.
Yeah, Black Cloak, that was another one that just really caught a lot of us off guard, with such a different take on the police procedural.
Yeah, we knew it was risky. You know, Meredith's art is not necessarily what people expect on that kind of a book, and you don't always expect sci-fi and magical creatures in your detective comics. But I like to mash things I like together, and I'm interested in what a troll says in a interrogation room. I you know, I like that kind of thing, and Meredith just brings it to life really beautifully. You know, so many creatures in that. When we started, we only had a few creatures, but we just started getting more into it. And as we were doing it, I was like, you realize the more we do this, the less likely anyone ever wants to option it and make it into a movie or a TV show, right? Or the less they want to animate it. And she's like, yeah, I don't really care. I was like, me either. Let's just do it. We don't want to do what we want to do. So
Yeah, do what you want to do, and it's finding the voices. I mean, the readers are finding it, and I'm definitely pointing stuff out constantly. That's kind of what I pride myself on, is people, I find their next favorite read. So they'll come in like, I don't know
that's
what I
great.
read, and I'm like, well, you tell me what your favorite movie was or whatever, and I will find that book for you. And luckily, I've got a job that lets me bring that kind of happiness to people.
And he does it to me too
Your name comes
often.
up a lot of these books. A lot of the books I point out are definitely with you on the title someplace. So I'm very happy to have spoke with you today, Kelly. This is very cool.
I really appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, it's all I know is he don't know how good he is at that, and how sometimes I just want to be like, Dave, I swear, you recommend another book to me. Like look, Dave, just be quiet, okay? I don't want to hear no more words from you, Dave.
Yeah, that's a superpower, but you have to use it with caution, I guess.
Yeah, I really do, because be like, oh, this is a really good book, and they're like, oh, it's for my 12-year-old. Like, no, that's not a good book. Let's go over here, and I've got to take it to the age-appropriate section here.
Yeah, man, I'm terrible. I'm terrible at that. People ask me all the time, and I'm like, listen, I don't have children, so it's hard for me to wrap my head around exactly what is appropriate for them or not. But also, like most people who love to read, I read up as a kid. So, I was reading stuff as a 10-year-old that, yeah, I mean, should I have been reading it? I mean, I don't know. It didn't damage me. I learned a lot. I'm a writer now. It can't have been that bad. But like, they certainly weren't the books that were marketed to me or that were in the age appropriate section. There were plenty of times where we were big library goers. My mom loved the library, and we go and we get a whole haul. And I was a kid with, nothing to do. And she was a very busy mom who, like, I'm not sure I saw her sit down on the couch for like 4 years at one point. Like, it's like if she's watching TV, she's ironing. So it was never a shock that I would get through my books first, but I would sometimes go to her books if I was done. And then later she'd be reading it and she'd look at me and she'd go, did you read this? And I'm like, oh yeah, I like that one. And she'd be like, not appropriate. She was not happy that I'd gotten there, but she could see it wasn't damaging me. So we never really changed anything.
Yeah, the only one that damaged me was It. I probably shouldn't have read that before I got out of grade school.
It's funny. It's funny you're talking about that because I was on a podcast recently and we were talking about it, and I was saying that I haven't read the book, and I'm probably never going to because I know some stuff about the end, and it's just not. I'm not going to be able to get on board with that. Like, I understand if I'd read it organically back then, maybe it would have been different, but it's just not going to happen now. And I can't remember where I was going with this. That
Oh, wait, I know. Are you talking about that part of the book?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's talks
yeah.
about that,
I
Yeah, I just, different time, like whatever. I don't know. I haven't read the book, so I can't say, but I just know that it's not going to go down well for me, and that's a bad choice of words. The so the age appropriateness question is always tough. But I don't know. I think in my mom's case, part of it with her not worrying about it was that we had a conversation when I was a teenager about writing, and she was like, I don't remember how it started, but I was like, well, if I build a character correctly, they sort of just tell me what to do. And it was the worst thing I could have said to her because she looked at me like I was insane, and like my next stop was going to be like a padded room. She's like, what do you mean they talk to you? I was like, I don't know. It's like, you just know if it's right or not. Like, you just sort of know. I was like, but if I don't get the character right at the beginning, it doesn't work or whatever. And I honestly, she was worried, I think. And then like a couple weeks later, I want to say, we were watching some kind of daytime talk show, and Mary Higgins Clark was on, who I don't know if you know who she is, but she's a big murder mystery type writer. And my mom and I had read many of her books, so we were watching this interview, and she's like, well, if I build the characters correctly, they really tell me what to do. And my mom did this like slow look over to me on the couch, and she goes, she just said what you said. I was like, because I'm right. And like, so I think there was like there were some key moments in our lives where she saw that maybe I wasn't like exactly like everyone else, and I had a line on something that was interesting to me and that maybe I was good at, and they didn't get in my way, which is they didn't get in my way, and they supported me, which are huge. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I mean,
Well,
they let me go
I
to a
think it's-
school for comics, for Christ's sake. So
Let's hope it plays out.
yeah.
Good luck. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Yeah, no. I think you're doing phenomenally, and yeah. Hey, Dave, can I attest to you? You ever realize that I'll have a creator on, and then I'll talk to him, and then suddenly I have a bunch of their books at my house?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
this is
you
a
probably
big
have stuff.
success to me. I'm on here to promote books, and I don't know about anyone listening, but I've certainly converted you to a few. So my work is done here.
And hey, look, for anyone out there that has checked this out, always know there's a link right in the description as far as to where you can go check out all of Kelly's work, find out everything that she has done right now. Also, there's a link in the description, and because you guys deliver, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so there's a link in the description to Mage's Comics, and they can, get you all kinds of goodies, right? Like they could even get you some dice. Dave, I need some dice. Dave, did you know I need dice?
We've got them.
They were
We've
like,
got 'em.
somebody was like, man, just use the online thing. And I'm like, I'm not gonna sit and play
Gotta
D&D like we intend to play D&D, and I might try and drag Kelly into a game of D&D in like 5, 6, 7, 8 months, and she's gonna be like, "What are you doing?" I'm gonna be like, "Look, it's gonna be nutty, and that's what we're gonna do, right?" But it has been a pleasure. But Kelly didn't answer all my questions.
I'm sorry. What did I not answer?
I'm sorry.
Right.
I
No,
took up too much time.
no. I don't mean the questions. I don't mean questions that I had at the moment. I meant the pre-show questionnaire. Which, look, for all
Oh,
y'all out there
sorry.
watching, we hardly got into any of it, right? You all can go. She had some.
We didn't do any of it, but that was a massive list of questions, man.
Well, look,
That's a lot.
I know, because if anybody wants to go and check them out, I like to consider it also a little bonus interview over on the Patreon. You know what I mean? And you can check out all of those answers, but there's a mix of questions within those, so I can do what I'm gonna
Clever. Very clever. That's
try.
particularly clever to the Patreon. That's a great way to like build content that works on two levels. That's great. Clever.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I didn't answer all of them. I answered
No.
the ones I wanted to
No.
answer in the time that I had.
The fact that you said that was a clever move, I appreciate enough that I don't care, and I'm gonna make
That
this
all is
work.
forgiven.
Right? Yeah,
All is
it's fine, and I can always, as David can attest to, make this work in some way, shape, or form. Right? So, like I said, if you want to check out Kelly's work, links in the description. And if you've enjoyed this interview, right, what I want you to do is send Jeff the Shark to her house, right? With a bunch of
Send Jeff to
seafood.
Shark.
With a
Send
bunch
Jeff
of
to my house. I
with
want to see
with
Jeff.
with a bunch of look. Dave's like, hold on, I want Jeff the Shark. I've never had someone request the thing that I was sending. The co-host request the thing I was sending to the guests before. That's the first, but yeah. So Jeff the Shark with just a bunch of seafood. Y'all just sit there and just have a blast. Hang out with Jeff the Shark while y'all eat. Right?
What's Jeff gonna do now that Red Lobster's is closing?
Honestly, I don't think anyone wants to be around Jeff when he's eating. A, he'll try to eat all your food. B, I don't think it's a particularly clean process. He's a shark. He's like, "Arr, arr, arr, arr." I guess it's not a delicate operation.
Well, okay. Kelly didn't like.
I'm writing a thing right now where because of some things he gets to have a really long tongue, and he's really enjoying that. So it's very inconvenient for everyone else. Food related only. Come on.
But no, that's not where my brain went when you said Jeff suddenly had a long tongue. Well, Kelly went, hold my beer or whatever you were drinking. Yeah, she's a freaking fiend. She really did. All right, so how about this? If you've enjoyed the interview, right, send Jeff the Shark to just be really nice and chill with Kelly and I, because who wouldn't want to chill with Jeff the Shark? I assume that would be a good time, right? And then after he leaves, send a bunch of seafood to her, right?
There you go.
We're gonna have to separate those two, right? Now, yeah, you made this part tricky, but firstly, if you haven't enjoyed this interview with Kelly, how did you make it to that? How did you make it to that point? That's what I mainly want to know. Why didn't you turn it off a while ago? Right? I mean, I just right. But whatever. But if you didn't, right? I mean, I guess just give her red onions because she just. No. Oh, there's a good twist, right? I want you to send Jeff to just mow on a ton of red onions while she is encased in a room with him. Just endless red onions.
Jeff's breath after eating a mess of red onions, that's a nightmare. I don't want to be involved in that.
So if you didn't enjoy it, serve that up, man. But beyond that, yeah, I was trying. My brain, I didn't freeze. Well, I did freeze momentarily in my brain, but I was just like, hold on, did I skip a step? No, I didn't skip a step. But yeah, no, beyond that, I know, Kelly, right? What I want you all to do, is 1, give it that thumbs up, right? 2, get your comic on. 3, have a good night, y'all.
Night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
This has been the questionnaire.
Where's the link?
Thanks for checking out the questionnaire.
In the link below, yes?
I will drop it like it's hot.
That's another party.
It's cool, man. I love it.
The questionnaire. That is all.